Are you ready to go?
Yo, Michelle, I'm like so attracted to you right now.
I know, you're just
Thanks, you guys.
the confidence.
Does not fit the
It's
inside.
like something about like an armchair and
the two.
Michelle. Just like, I don't know. She's just like,
It's because I'm such an armchair expert.
just
You're like, yeah, Michelle in an armchair giving unsolicited advice. That sounds
yes.
pretty on brand.
Yeah.
I'm
Michelle
just like,
in
the
a,
colors look so good on her right now. I'm
Yeah.
freaking out.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, you
Thank
look-
you.
You're
you
welcome.
look good. I'm so happy you guys are here. Okay.
Thanks for choosing
Thanks
us
for
for your new
having us.
studio.
God. No, of course. Of course. I have so much to talk about. So, yeah.
Cool.
I'm excited. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Rip it.
Ready. All right. Well, welcome to House of Stone, the podcast where everyone has a story and we get into the nitty gritty of it all. We're here, new studio, really intimidated.
Very fancy.
It is
So
so fancy.
fancy.
Look at this lighting.
Very get
I
it to the
actually
Greek.
don't look like I have rosacea in this camera. This is a shift.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on like this is exactly what I feel like. Do you remember Jersey Shore? Remember the after show?
yes,
That's what I
yes.
feel like I'm on right now.
Yeah.
I feel pretty.
Yeah. This is like a lot of the like one camera interviews and reality shows. Like these chairs, this lighting.
Yes, like I feel
Just
like I
like-
could talk so much shit about the people
Yeah.
that are in the room next to me right now.
Yeah.
Just talk shit about your producer.
Yeah, they were like, she was a fucking
Fuck that
bitch.
guy. He's so good at setting cameras up.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have my two guests today. Our first guest of season 3, Eva Alexo and Michelle Forrester.
Hello,
Hey.
everybody. I don't know what camera to look in. Like,
So honored to be here.
So many cameras. So
I'm like, are we famous?
I feel, let's just absorb this. We're famous.
Manifest
So to start off the episode, I always start with a little intro for my guest. So we'll start off with Michelle Forrester. Michelle is now a Toronto-based comedian, originally from Montreal. In 2023, she was named one of Just for Laughs' New Faces, a title that all comedians want and can only dream about having now. She's also a writer for a Writer's Room sketch show, which was the CBC Just for Laughs pitch winner of 2023. It had a big year last year. Huge year. She
But it
also
all
brought
came
Giggle
tumbling down.
Fest to us last year. She's the podcast host of Is It Me and is now the co-host of Uncuffed. I hope I didn't forget anything.
Wow, you would think you just cured my imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, but when I say it, she doesn't listen to me. And I just saw all of her insecurities just go like, bing, boop, beep, beep. She's like, I did do a lot. Thank you, Abby. Abby's so good at making you feel like you're doing something with your life.
Because you are. My God, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my guests, when I read the intro, they're like, they just like curl up. They're like, I don't want to hear any of this, but maybe that's what you're gonna do right now.
I'm going to throw up all over my lap.
So Eva Alexo is now a Just for Laughs veteran. She is a Just for Laughs recording artist 2 times over now, with a TV taping that she recorded this winter. She is the creator and producer of the most attended show in Montreal called The Kickback, Montreal's one and only comedy party. Eva is a visionary who has brought this show across the country and has sold out most of the shows that she's done.
Happy.
She is now the co-host of Uncuffed as well with Michelle and is doing the same thing, bringing the show all over Canada. Thanks for being here.
Damn, Abby.
I mean, there's so many more
Right? So
things.
good.
I'm like, wow. Like, I'm like,
Don't worry, in like 3 hours it'll all go.
yeah,
away.
in 3 hours, I'll just be like, how
It's
am I
okay.
supposed to sell Thursday?
I mean, enjoy it for now. 3 hours is good.
Yeah. Enjoy the high.
It's already gone.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here. I always start the podcast with like a prompt question, and it just goes in line with the project you're doing right now called Uncuffed. Do you guys have any funny breakup or ex stories that you want to share? Please.
I have made my
think
entire
it's
career off talking shit about my ex.
Yeah.
It's honestly great. I get a check every month for talking shit about my exes.
I love that.
But that is feminism. No, it's not.
I created an entire brand with my best friend over talking shit
Yeah.
about my ex.
Yeah, exactly.
I was, well, actually, kind of topical. My first ever boyfriend, got engaged this week.
Shit, how did you find out?
Well, like we still I still follow.
I thought you were gonna say we still fuck.
Yeah, but yeah, well,
I still follow.
Yeah, we are still very much involved. No, not at all. No. He's with like a really. I don't know this person at all. I don't know anything about their lives, but we do follow each other on Instagram. So it did come up. And that was kind of funny. Because it was kind of like a milestone.
Yes.
Where it's like, that's never happened to me, where like none of my exes have like gotten engaged.
Yeah.
And so I think like it's funny because like I think in a few months I'll be 30. So it just felt like kind of aligned.
It's a coming of age moment.
Yeah, but what was really funny was that like when it came up, like I genuinely was so freaking happy for them because I mean, again, I don't know his new soon to be wife, but like him and we haven't spoken in like 10 years, but we do follow each other on Instagram and we do like support.
Okay. Like from a distance.
With our thumbs.
Fire emoji.
Yeah.
And so I was like really, really stoked for them. But it was also kind of one of those things where, of course, I'm sending it to everyone I went to high school with.
Yes.
Of course, I'm sending it to everyone being like, what?
Just look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
And then I had this moment where it's like, imagine like you're a happy couple and like you look at your post and you're like, wow, it has so many sends. And it's
so
just
many
like his ex-girlfriend just being like, oh my God.
Yeah. Do you think
will never be me?
Do you think normal people look at the analytics like that, like the
100%.
send? Really?
No, crazy people look at the analytics of those things.
Okay.
I mean, like, I actually try to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah, because it makes you want to throw up.
Well, just because also, like, I have had videos that have gone on the, like the JFL video that, like, that went up on their, like, I just, like, can't look at those comments because I know that, like, I'll read a comment and spiral for 4 days. So my method has been I copy what Teresa Giudice does, which is like she's a Real Housewife from New Jersey, and she like famously never watched any of the seasons that she was in, and like never tuned into like what Twitter was talking about or anything, and she just kind of like lived in this bubble.
Yeah,
and she's like the most iconic housewife of all time. So I'm like, well, if it's good enough for her,
it's good enough. It is better for your mental health. Not to engage.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. It is so much better. Like, the moment that I could, like, hire someone to do all of that bullshit for me, go. I want to, like, delete all the apps. I don't want to engage at all. Like, it's, like, really toxic. I find.
But then on the other side, and, like, I think Eva is such a good, like, representation of this. Like, she reads all the comments and, like, has kind of, like, built up tough skin and doesn't internalize any of it. I mean, I don't know if you do, but it seems like you don't. And then she kind of just trolls them. Yes. And I also think that that's, like, a really good way to also, like, let your enemies feed into your algorithm.
That's true. Well, I mean, if they engage, that's giving you, like, this positive, like, it's a good thing that they're engaging, even if it's negative.
I think my obsession is, like, sick. Like, I love a challenge. Like, I love that somebody out there thinks they're wittier than me because I've been doing community management as a job for like 15 years. Like, and for a resort chain. Which gets like some of the worst comments you could ever get on a social media.
It really is like when you think of like resorts too, like all inclusive and stuff. It really is like the most entitled people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Who don't have a lot of money.
Like my green peppers were not fresh enough. Like what the fuck is this garbage?
$1,500 for 1 week, and that's all we're gonna pay, flight included. But we expect everything.
I had a woman once freak out because there were too many mosquitoes in the jungle of the Dominican Republic.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, ma'am,
that is clearly Club Med's fault.
Yeah, well, I mean, how dare we?
How could we? How dare you?
But I mean, in that sense of like, too many mosquitoes. No, there was. I had another woman when I worked at Club Med. I had another woman from France who part of our job was always going to the airport and like picking up the guests, greeting the guests, bringing them to their room and all that kind of stuff. We had a woman who thought that it was our job to go get her suitcase off the tarmac. So she got off the plane.
For real? Has she never experienced travel in her life?
Not this 4-star trash. Like she got to the resort and she was like, "Where are my bags?" And we were like, "Where are your bags?" And she's like, "Well, didn't you get it from the plane for me?" And I was like, I want to be where you are.
I would love to live in that delusion. Like everyone needs to pamper me at all times.
Yeah. I always imagine every troll is like this like sweaty, dirty man in like a basement in Montana.
For sure.
And they have like heads of like deer and stuff.
Yeah.
But like they sweat a lot from eating a lot.
Yeah.
And they also like code and have like 4 computers around them where they're just like calling girls bitches and being like, you're not funny. And I'm like,
very specific visual that you've created.
well, it keeps me strong.
I've ever met a tech bro with like a moose hanging on his wall, but I kind of love that.
But he's like a conspiracy theorist, or he's like a 14-year-old who's like telling his mom to shut up. And he's like, you're ugly.
Pretty sure 75% of that is true.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah. I think it actually is a lot of teenagers. I do like once that kind of, because I remember I got added to this like crazy, insane like meme group for a few years, and it was like really invite only. And at first it was really funny because all the memes were like really, really funny, and like there was all these like crazy rules, community rules. Like if you posted the same meme that someone else did, you got banned. Oh, so it was like this really intense.
I remember that era. Actually.
It was
really?
this like really intense group, and so I was in it with my friend, and then after a while we realized we're like, oh, like this is getting weird, and like to a place of like. Weirdness that like we can't relate to, and then we realized that like everyone in the group was 16. So if ever that's something, I mean that's how I'll get canceled. I guess is that I was in a group chat with like multiple 16-year-olds, and so like from that kind of changed my perspective on like who is like habitating the internet the most.
Yeah,
and it does seem like it's like
not
teenagers.
The healthiest people that are trolling. Like they're not someone that with rational thought.
Not at all.
And you guys heard about. Like Elise Myers pretty much got bullied off the internet, and it's like that
she's
stuff
the sweetest human being in the world.
Elise Myers is a TikTok creator that blew up during COVID through just telling really wholesome stories. Like she's Christian, her whole family are just like very kind, wholesome people.
Okay,
and she was basically bullied off of TikTok by the internet for not speaking on the Israeli-Palestine issue.
Huh.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And like she like doesn't talk about politics at all. Like that's not her brand. And yet like, oh, you have to that's a lot.
I mean, if you saw the video of her crying, it kind of just begs the argument of like, how do you respond to those things? I mean, I got a message from a girl when I posted that McDonald's video of walking through the hotel. I was like walking through a hotel and I posted a video of like
right. Yeah. So you're like in a fancy hotel with like a McDonald's iced coffee.
Yeah, and I got a message from someone that was pretty heated, but again, like from my experience in working in social media and especially community management and customer service, I kind of read that comment from like, okay, this person's in pain.
Yeah.
I can have a conversation
for sure.
And just let them know that I mean, I knew about Starbucks.
Yeah, my bad. You just didn't know McDonald's was on that umbrella.
There's also, I'm so happy to be educated. I'm so happy to learn more. And maybe in the future, when you're commenting on people's posts, assume that it wasn't intentional and invite people to learn about something so that they can then make their decision. And then she posted this whole thing on her story being like, I spoke to her and she was sorry and she changed. I changed my caption. I didn't realize it was triggering. And I know there's two sides for that, but for me, I don't want to.
I mean, there's always an opportunity for like learning and education. It doesn't have to be like aggressive and mean.
Which is such a social media debate right now on like objectively, like what is the right thing to do when you are called upon to speak on a subject as an influencer.
I don't think it's fair to call on influencers to make these to make a stance. Like I think like if it's not within your brand to be super political, I think we need to call on politicians to speak on these things and actually make real change because they're the ones that can and can vote, and I think we can like be involved. It just feels like in terms of like even any kind of sensitive thing that's going on online, it's like it's so complex to put it on someone and to also put it on the medium. Yeah. Like the medium doesn't really allow for like nuance and complexity and stuff. So it's like even like when someone's commenting, you know, and it's like, it's so true. Like I remember we talked about that of like someone's like emotional and like you want to exercise that compassion as well. Yeah. But like these are conversations that I believe like we should be having in person. And so it's like,
not a public
platform. For sure. And I think if you are an influencer and you do feel compelled to speak out, I think it's amazing. Like, if you look at what, like, Rami did on SNL, what he did with his monologue, like, that was incredible that he did that and he used that platform. Yeah. But it was his choice to do so. Yeah. And I think it gets a little bit, I think, dangerous when we start, like, morally policing each other's content.
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, a lot of content exists as a way to, like, disassociate from real life.
Make us feel happy.
And it's, like, not going to give you the 360 perspective of that person's life and their, like, moral position. And you also don't see what people are doing behind closed doors, the conversations they're having behind closed doors. Yeah. And they don't owe you anything.
Yeah, they don't owe you anything. You also don't know this person's life.
That made me scared saying all of that stuff.
But it's okay, girl. That's a good hot take. I mean, everyone, like, you're not, it's like, I don't think there's a right or wrong in this. I just think there's people involved in this. Yeah. And if I was Greek, I mean, I am Greek. Wait a minute. I was Greek. When that is what they're feeling is a pain. Yeah. None of us can possibly relate to right now.
No.
But the Greek people have never been in an open air prison. Like, that's not something, but if my people were going through that, like they did years ago, maybe there would be a part of me losing my mind on like every 3 stories being like, this is how you make brownies, and then other stuff. But I just,
for sure,
I see what you're saying in the sense of, like, it's not fair to punish people who are literally just being like, I would like to create a break for people on my social platform. A break. Sure. And then people are like, you don't have the choice to do that. You don't get to do that. And it's like, but I didn't choose this. And I think that's where people cross that line of, like.
Right. And then also it's like, you also give the example of, like even just a different example, there have been all kinds of things that, like, when they go up and they're sensitive and influencers get called on to take a stance and to take a public stance, and then they take that public stance and then something else happens or we learn more information. For sure. And then weeks later, that person, now you have someone else being held accountable. Like, you have them, they're being held accountable for something they were pushed and pressured to do without enough information. For sure. I think, like, there's forums for different things, and I think those forums have always existed for different things. There's a reason why politics have existed in certain arenas and that it hasn't existed in other arenas. Yeah. Like, and I think that, like, that we shouldn't be put people, like, under duress to address something that they honestly might not even be educated about. No. And so it's like, then they're what?
And that's probably why they're maybe not engaging right at that moment. Right. Because they're just like, I need to gather information just like you all are gathering information
and
right
maybe
now.
they don't have the communities around them that can teach them enough about it. Or maybe, you know what I mean? There's all these kinds of things. So it's like, yes, I'm all for educating people. I'm all for standing up against injustice. Yeah, like, I think we all should be doing that more. Sure. But I think we should all be doing that more in our personal lives. Yeah, like, when it's face to face, when you can see someone, when you can feel their compassion, when you can feel their side, when you can see how they emote. Absolutely. As opposed to just, like, a comment or a caption. Yeah. Like, to hold someone, to put so much on, like, what, a sentence? Like, it's just, it lacks, like, it lacks critical thinking.
I've seen a couple. And it's usually, like, funny enough, it's a lot of, there's this other guy, Mario Morante, who kind of went through his own rant. He's like a comedic TikToker. He's really funny. His whole shtick was about, like, being the nice guy who wants to be single, and he makes kind of that, like, really funny, light, digestible content. Yeah. And then kind of the same thing happened to him, where a lot of people are like, hey, like, why aren't you speaking up? Why aren't you saying anything? A big
platform, like, all of that. Yeah.
He responds with a really emotionally driven thing, kind of saying, what's being said now of, like, I don't know enough about this. I'm not the problem. Yeah. I'm not the this. I'm not the that. Kind of having a breakdown. Truly, you can see the guy's having a breakdown. Because I think what people don't see is, like, if you are even in that space, don't think that these people don't feel pressure to say something. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they just don't really know what to say, and they're afraid of getting canceled. And you don't want people speaking up on just the fear of being canceled. Yeah.
No, because you want people disingenuous. And that's the other thing is, like we're pushing each other all to, like, kind of just, like, have these, like, PR responses to everything, and it's like that lacks real emotion and
emotion. And not all of us have a PR team that can tell us what to say and like what's the right. And some of these like influencers, like this is their bread and butter, is making these videos. Like, okay, I don't want this to be taken away from me.
It's their job.
Yeah,
and it's job. Like it's the equivalent of asking someone who works at an office building. To show up and like write something like with a sign on their chest, like, and it's like that's not that's not necessarily like super fair. So I think we should all stand up for what we believe in, and I think that the people that
educate yourself first.
I think the people
Rami's the perfect person to say that and talk about it and be like. Bassem is another one, but it's like you're asking this sketch artist, this teeny tiny guy, to speak on stuff that is like, he's like, I'm just a comic who talks about relationships. And I've seen on the contrary of that, basically what happened was that he made that video, people came for him harder, and then he made a retracting video where he was apologizing.
And this is like, it is such a divisive issue, and it is, there is like a lot of emotion all over it.
For sure.
And I think I think either way, you're never gonna say something online that's gonna please everybody, and you can't be everything for everybody.
Just like as a comedian, you're not gonna make everyone laugh.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, you have to accept that.
But the mental turmoil that comes with like thousands and thousands and thousands of people maybe like calling you a bad person, like no matter what you do, no matter how healthy you are, if you read like even 5 comments that have a similar message, your brain is still like, your brain can't shut that off. Your brain's not like, I can't, let me stop reading this. Your brain does take it does internalize it, and you will have like it will affect your mental health.
It's really hard not to have an emotional reaction. And I mean, I that's great that like you can like kind of like, you know, just see it from a distance, like if someone's trolling you or like, I mean, you have a lot of followers now. I'm sure it's just like,
I mean, I've had some people comment like, you're not funny, you're really not funny, or like you're fat, but I'm like, that is when I read comments about like, you're not funny, you're not fat, you're not this, you're not that, and for me personally, tell me something my mother hasn't, bitch. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, you know, it's of course that's your response to my video. There's not many responses you can have. What are you gonna say? This is such an inquisitive work of art. What a disingenuous piece of shit. I'm not being, at the same time, I've never been told to unalive myself.
Oh gosh.
Right? And a lot of these people are being told terrible things. But in terms of like, this wasn't funny, or where's the joke, or where's this, like, there are people in the world who I have this belief that everybody in the universe has a little job that they serve.
It's true.
And trolls take their jobs really seriously.
Very seriously. But there's a purpose for them, I guess.
It's good for me. It's just good practice on like being witty and having comebacks.
It's true. Yeah, you practice your improv skill.
I mean, with art, there has always been critics, and there has always been art has always been kind of on the chopping block for criticism, as it should be. Like I don't think we should remove those like critical forums at all. But I think before there was maybe more gatekeepers of like, it was, you know, magazines or newspapers or like real art critics that would kind of, you know, who are educated in this and understand the art enough, the art form enough to kind of make these judgments. And now what's so incredible about the internet is that it does connect everyone, but it does mean that everyone has an opinion, and it does mean that everyone thinks that their opinion is valid enough to be heard. And I think sometimes your opinion should just
stay with you.
Free speech is also a choice.
Yes.
Like I think your opinion can exist in the pages of a journal. You know what I mean? I don't think it needs to always exist on the internet.
People use the comment section as their journal, or community groups on Facebook. They post anonymously. A lot. Have you seen stuff like that?
Like silent complaints is my favorite place to be.
It is my favorite thing when they're just like venting and it's anonymous, but it's just like... I hate
anonymous posts. Because we really have removed like personal accountability.
It's true.
And it's like, if you can't, just in the same way that you wouldn't say, like, I have friends who like have these like hurtful opinions about specific groups of people, and like I said friends, I'm not friends with them anymore, but people that like that like used to be in my circle that have like really hurtful opinions about groups of people. And I remember kind of calling them out and being like, well, like, would you say this if like someone from that community was like in the room?
Yeah,
and they're like,
not.
no, I wouldn't. And it's like, well, then why are you saying it only around people that like it simply does not affect? Like that is a weird thing. So it's like, that's for me, that's what the anonymous post on.
Yeah.
I know that like different people, I know that there is also like a safety factor as well. And I can see that, like I can see the whole safety argument, and I can see also that like sometimes identity definitely does play into this, and certain people get way more heat online than others. So I can see how that anonymous feature could be good for them. But in general, I'm like, if you're going to bitch and complain about something, why the F aren't you like saying it with your chest?
Like, this is me, this is what I feel.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
But
literally everything I've said in the last 10 minutes, I'm like, someone is going to come for me.
Say it with your chest. No, I saw a woman on West Island complain about this butcher shop, Caballeros.
I love Caballeros.
But how
I've never heard of it. I'm not a West
John's
Island girly.
was more expensive for a half a slice.
Oh, how
than
dare
DDO.
they? How dare they?
Well, that's what I love, though. Like little petty,
those
like
things I love.
petty
Has
local
anyone else noticed this?
bullshit.
And I was like, where do I live?
To take the energy to like actually like, if I didn't like a price of something or didn't like a service something, I would just keep it to myself. I would never like take the energy to do that. And then people reinforce it. It's like, yeah, that is expensive. It's just like, shut up.
Yeah, I think like, or just use it in the proper channels. Like there's Yelp, there's like Google review, and like that I can say like I'm fine with them protecting their identity in that sense, just so that there's no retaliation. Yeah. I guess I'm more thinking of like even like our comedians group when people like post things anonymously. I'm like, can you just say this with your chest?
And then when you do figure out who it is, they're like, guys, stop, it's not me.
You can 100%, I 100% know who it is.
All the time.
Every time.
There's like 4 people who post. Every time I post on Comedians of Montreal, I like quiver. I'm like, I'm scared. I don't.
Do you feel like judged by?
Yeah, I'm like, I have a show, and I'm just really scared. People are going to be like, I
don't think anyone would like.
I've just seen people argue on that page, and I'm like, if I don't
You've argued on that page.
Have I?
I feel like
I don't argue. I just leave one mic drop and I leave again.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And
I mean, we haven't had a good argument on that for a while, but. God. Yeah, social media can be.
Yeah, sorry guys, that's my bad. Oh my God, we were talking about ex-boyfriends, and I'm like, social media, woof.
It's all good. It's a good chat. It's a good thing to talk about, for sure. Let's talk about Uncuffed, though, for a bit. I'm super excited for both of you.
Thank
this
you.
show, it like in such a short amount of time, it's gotten like so
Don't
amazing. You've done shows across Canada for this. And so tell the listeners about it.
So in I think, when did I break up with him? I broke up with
it was in the fall, right?
I've had 5 more boyfriends since then. No. I broke up with my boyfriend of 3 years in September. And I just feel like as comics, we're very lucky to have our friends around us who like roast and who this and that. And I wanted to come up with something about like venting or roasting. Because I had Michelle, who just famously was
not a fan.
We are each other's not a fan.
You weren't a fan?
Publicly not a fan.
Publicly
not a fan. And if you're listening to this, I hate you. And don't ever say hi to me in public again. I'm just saying. But actually, what I think it came, Eva called me and was like, I'm feeling really sad about my breakup. And I know that there's other people who feel really sad. Yeah. And I had my breakups famously take 2.5 years to get over. So like I
famously also disagree with her breakup strongly.
I was like in a much better place than I was like a year ago. But she called me and she was like, I know other people are feeling like
it's a universal
this pain. Of course.
It's a universal experience, a breakup, heartbreak. Yeah. Like everyone goes through it at some point or can go through it adjacently. Like they see their friends being hurt by someone and they don't know what to say. And it's like this, like, you know, I've had friends that like they go in and out of this relationships that you're just like, just end it now. And
Yeah.
like,
And I was like, no.
And like you're always like, yes, he's a piece of shit, and then they get back together. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess like he may change, and you're just there like, I can't wait till this is over.
For sure. As a friend, it can be frustrating too. And I think also as just even someone who's going through a breakup, like it sometimes does feel like you're literally dying. Like it feels like you're dying.
My first breakup ever, it was, breakup. We were barely dating, but I cried for like 6 months, I think.
Oh, yeah. I had moments throughout this breakup, and I'm pretty honest about it, but I remember, if I could cry right now, I remember literally feeling like I was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you just keep finding out so many hurtful things that are either
Especially
true or
case,
not
from
true.
what I know.
It was just like, what the heck is going on? Did I even know this person? Did I even know who I was dating for this long? Like, who is this? And I couldn't help but feel like, if I'm going through this amount of pain, I don't have my family here. They're all in Greece. I don't really, I have Michelle, like I have friends I could call, but you know, wouldn't it feel nice to just have like, and I call Michelle and she goes,
together, drink, laugh about it.
Just, you know, have a good time. And Michelle goes, Uncuffed.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy, like that is like her brain and her capability to just come up with such cool names and such good visions for things has always been just impeccable and so impressive for me. But I don't think I could have done it.
Nice.
Like it was just so like, we were like, what do we call it? What do we do? How do we do this? When do we do this? And she just uncuffed. Like,
it was like a breakup
I love
party
when a project just like
yeah.
comes together and you just like I've had a few things where I'm like, I'm just like brainstorming with someone and then it's just like like this is it.
And I think it started in the beginning as like this like breakup party, and I think that was like the impetus for it. And then as we like at first I wasn't really involved. Like I think Eva just wanted to throw a breakup party, and I was like, I think that's a great idea. And then I guess we just kept having calls about it. Well, we have phone calls every day, but I guess we just kept having phone calls about it. And then I think one day she was like, "Do you want to do this with me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we realized that also like when we're together, we have a lot of like silly, fun riffing potential. And so we had seen like, we have a lot of like male friends who do riffing shows, and like and there isn't really like that I know of really like a show that really is like two women just like on stage like shooting the shit.
There's definitely like podcasts.
For sure. There's live shows, podcasts, but I mean like in comedy, in the comedy community, in like even I would say in Montreal and Toronto, like I haven't seen a show that really is just like two friends like shooting the shit and just like seeing what happens. And also there is this concept of like, I think as women, we really wait until things are like super perfect to kind of like do something.
Little perfectionist. Like,
shoot them into the universe. And I had gone to Skank Fest last year. And I think like also in Toronto, I had seen like a lot of guys, they just like kind of have these shows and they don't put a lot of thought into it. It's just them and their friends hanging out on stage. And I was like, Eva, why don't we do that? But just us two. And then like also incorporate the girlies. And then she was like, well, why don't we do like a roast your ex segment? And I was like, that's impeccable, because that is so fun for us that we get to practice our like off. It's also like Uncuffed is off the cuff. Like that's what it is for us too. So it has many meanings.
It's so important to like practice the like improvise
stuff. It is
and
a lot of improv.
It's so fun. Like when I've done like live podcast recordings, it's like that's what I love about. Like if I could do this podcast live every time, that would be fucking impeccable. I like have so much fun doing that.
I'm all for being like, do it.
I mean,
but it's true.
I'm all for like, fucking do it.
And it really has been such an iterative experience for us, because we really didn't sit on it for a long time. Like we literally were like, let's do it. And then like 2 weeks later we did the first iteration. And the first iteration actually didn't even have us like riffing on stage. It was just like, we just booked all female comics. And then in between we kind of had like audience members come up and share their experiences. And then like the next show we were like, okay, like let's try both of us on stage, like with both of us with mics, and like have like a floating mic and stuff. And then every show we've just gotten better and better and better, and we found the heart of the show. And that's been really fun to do that just learning by doing as opposed to
just like evaluating before, like, okay, this is
planning everything out.
Yeah, because no matter what, no matter how much you think about it before, there's going to be tweaks later on. So it might as well just like, I've even seen like shows at Just for Laughs that are like kind of like just pieced together. Like these two comedians are funny. Let's put them on a show.
100%.
And like there's not much, I mean, there is some thought, but not like they haven't ironed out every single
It's not overthought.
thing.
It's just like they're not overthinking it. It's just like, let's put two people on stage and see what they can do. And of course, those people are so talented that anything they do. But I think for us, what was like the most important thing was like, if we're having the best time on stage.
If you're having fun, the rest of everyone else is having
if we
fun,
can
for
recreate how like stupid we get like in our hotel room on stage. Like,
so what's the structure now
fun.
for Uncuffed then?
So I think what's been really cool about it is that each time we do the show, we learn something new about what's to be done. As of right now, like our biggest segment is like the Roast Your Ex. And I think it's kind of shown us like and it's not just for the girlies, like it's for the queers. For like we've had men come to the shows and sit front row and just like literally taking notes. And we try to
we didn't gender it actually, which was interesting. It's like we maybe at the first post we did, but like after that, we were very cognizant of like, this show needs to be inclusive for everybody. So we didn't gender the Roast Your Ex. And Roast Your Ex actually was never gendered, but it did, interestingly enough, pull women more than men.
Okay.
And a lot of queer women too, I will say. You pull a lot of queer women as well. And it's...
But you, maybe because you're two like female hosts or like a guy going up there, they're like, I'm going to end up being roasted, not my ex.
Well, it's just...
Maybe
I don't know. Guys come up.
We've had.
We're like,
that guy came up in Ottawa.
To like the thing is, I think that has been what I think both of us realized after a few shows was I think when we started the segment, we were like, this is gonna be silly and fun, and people are gonna like come up and tell bad dates or like tell bad stories. Like we didn't realize just how fucked up the things that people would be submitting. We just did not realize that, and then we had to like. Also go, okay, like now this is like bigger than making like just roasting and making people laugh. Like now we also have to weirdly be responsible about this and like make sure people feel validated and safe because like what they're sharing is so personal and so private. And it's great because in a sense like we all kind of trauma bond and we all there's a lot of community in it. And people leave the show feeling seen, heard, and also like their shit isn't as dark as other people's shit.
We leave being like, no, I'm kidding.
But it's also, it's like, you know, we've had chats where we're like, okay, but like we are also not therapists. You know, like we are not trained in like trauma counseling.
You definitely have a responsibility to be like, hey, like this seems heavy.
So like and making heavy stuff funny is a really delicate balance.
It's very delicate.
So I think we're really honing those skills.
We're really developing those because we've had some surprisingly heavy stories come on the show, and I think that's the thing is like we're figuring out like the structure as we go because every city has different needs. So for example, our audience in Ottawa want their exes roasted, but the majority really like we use like cue cards and people write their stories on cue cards and then we read it out on stage. And what we realized about the Montreal girlies is the Montreal girlies have something to say and you better give them that mic because they're like, this is what happened to me, this is how it happened, this is what I want you guys to say, and me and Michelle are like, okay, make it. But
they weren't super into like our dynamic. They were like, no, we want to talk. They're like, we didn't come to listen to you guys talk.
Oh, you have a new boyfriend now?
They're like, give us the mic because we got shit to say.
And like, you're my audience. And I'm like, fair enough.
Which like is, I love that.
Let's do it.
For sure.
There's something, I'm sure, like truly Montreal about that. You know,
what is one of the funniest things you've heard from an audience member so far?
I think we tell the story like every show because
I don't
it's
care.
So insane. But like our first like real Uncuffed, like
in Ottawa.
This like beautiful, stunning, like delicate woman just like came and told us that like her ex would try and kill her in his sleep. Like he would sleepwalk and like one of the like things he would do is like try to kill her, like try and choke her and like strangle her and stuff. So
oh my God.
Yeah, and so we were all kind of like
that red flag.
Okay. And so, but she was like really like
so sweet
and like such a good sport about it. And so it was just so funny because then we were just like, so like, do you still sleep over? And she was like, yeah. And then we were like,
why?
Like, do you wake him up? Like, how does it end? Like, what do you do?
How does it end? She's still there here on this earth.
And she was like, well, like you're not supposed to wake a sleepwalker. And I think the funniest thing that Eva said was like, and that's on being a woman, Like, yeah, because you're going to be like,
I'm like, she was so innocent. She had like the same like baby voice as like Gypsy Rose, like in my opinion. She was like, well, and the weird thing about sleepwalkers is you're not supposed to wake them up because it's dangerous. And me and Michelle were like,
yeah, but if this person's literally threatening your life and choking you, isn't that
wakey,
like that's the exception?
Like, I'll get screamed at.
Yeah,
but that's it. And then like Eva was like, and like that's being a woman. Like is like, you know what? Like, oh, but I shouldn't wake him. And it's just like,
holy shit.
It's
That's
like
hilarious.
maybe he's trying to kill me, but like he's sleepwalking, so like I can't wake him. Like,
Who was the girl at the last show in Montreal who like came to sit on stage with us?
The one with the breakup with him.
She had a breakup with him hat.
Yeah.
She had a breakup with him trucker hat, and she came on stage, and I think it was something about she found
dump him. She had to dump him.
Dump him hat?
Okay.
Yeah.
What
you
happened?
guys need merch like that. That's what I mean.
We do need merch like that.
We do need merch.
But it can't be dump him because it's already taken. But Renee Rapp has already like supported it, but which I love. But
what was the story? So this girl came on our show and she sat with us and she told us a story about how she suspected her boyfriend was cheating and she found the text messages on her phone.
Yeah.
And he texted her saying, I'm just leaving work now, or he was about to leave work. And she found a way to get his location, even though he hadn't shared it with her or something like that.
No, he had shared it with her.
He had shared it with her?
Yeah, I think...
You do it better. You tell it. I can't remember it.
I don't remember exactly, but like I think it was just kind of like, I don't remember the ending of that story, but she just like, he just like really was bad at lying. Like he just was like, I'm not...
No, but wait, we have to tell...
No, he showed up at her work. No, she showed up at his work.
Okay, well, we have to erase this part of the podcast.
Yeah,
Me and Michelle can't remember. But
fine.
I do remember the OF girl.
Mm-hmm. OF girl.
We had an OF girl who was in the audience, and she had a suspicion her ex was cheating.
Okay.
And she downloaded a special app from the States that cost her $32 to go into his secret apps in his secret notes and find out who he was cheating on her with.
Wow, that's like
No,
next
that's not.
level.
I feel like a mom is not remembering
Both of
any of this.
us are like the worst at remembering things. The OF girl, actually, she paid $36 USD to get this app that shows you which dating apps your partner is on. So you you update like their information and you update like name and credit card number.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you have to get your boyfriend's credit card number. And then, which is great because I think then you can charge him for the service as well. I think that's what I would do. But so that's how, and she found out he was on Grindr.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Cheating on her on Grindr.
Oh my God, I love that. That's such juicy gossip. See, this is like a beautiful show because like you get the gossip. You're not fully committed to these people. You get to laugh about it.
I get DMs from girls on my TikTok. Like I have one I was going to read to you after. I don't know if I can read it on. I'd have to ask her if I can read it on this podcast. But she told me a story. So I get DMs randomly from girls who have like seen the videos and they'll just go off on their exes, just off like crazy because they want to go tell this story at the show.
Yeah.
And I had one girl message me saying that like she was dating this guy for 12 years and she opened her phone one day and noticed that all of their conversation had been erased. Everything had been erased. And she was like, that's really weird. Why would everything be erased on my conversation with my boyfriend? So she had gone onto her iCloud and then realized that the whole conversation was still there and he sent himself a picture of her little sister. And then when she caught him on it, he was like, no, I wasn't doing anything. She's like, it's literally right here. And then he like admitted to having a crush on her sister.
How little? It was just like,
I don't want to know how little.
Like, I don't need to know.
I will say ever since doing this show, like
no trust in men.
I can't date
it's gone
anybody,
forever.
Anybody.
Have you guys heard about the feminist movement happening in South Korea?
I did. I ended up in that TikTok rabbit hole yesterday.
Oh, do I want to join?
What is it?
They're just like done with men.
No, literally.
Like collectively, they're just like we're not procreating with men until they get their shit together.
No. pussy will tear down governments, and I don't know why the rest of us haven't jumped on that bandwagon, but so many South Korean women have decided not to date men, not to marry men, not even to look at men, not sleep with men, not have babies. They have the lowest reproduction rate they've ever had now because there's so much misogyny and sexism happening.
Good for them,
all these women are like, oh yeah? No
Yeah.
pussy for you. And then now the government's just like freaking out, being like, what are we gonna do? We're not making babies. And they're just like, figure it out.
Good for them.
I mean, it's an interesting movement.
It's just like a protest. Like, okay, you guys got to educate yourself, stop the misogyny, stop all of this. It's a really aggressive way to do that, but it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I stand with whatever. Like, I'm not sure what the cultural like environment is to be a woman in South Korea, but if
I really don't know either.
it seems like it's bad enough that they're making that stance.
They're
Good for them.
losing their
I stand with
minds
them.
over there. I was like,
To be able to be brave enough to do that stance too is really great.
Yeah.
Too, for sure. No, I've said it many times. If Mike and I ever break up, I'm never dating again. No, this is like, I've done it once.
You're done.
I've done it once.
Yeah.
I love him to death. We're fine, but I'm never going through this whole journey again.
Yeah.
I love him so much. We're fine. We're fine.
No, I'm never doing this again. There's been so much work I put into this man.
Yeah.
And like the development of this relationship that if it crumbles, no. There's absolutely no way I'm doing this again.
Right.
I will be single for the rest of my life. I was single for years before him. I will be single for the rest of my life.
love
I will
being
be
single.
fine. I will be fine.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though. Like, I am moving towards this. Like, I think, you know, that show is like, it's very easy to also like, it is a bit of an echo chamber. And I think that's why we're trying to make it more inclusive and have like different stories come up. Because like, as much as, you know, everything that these women are saying is so valid, and as much as sociologically it's been like such a mind fuck to like see like hundreds and hundreds of women who are like really going through like trauma that was put on them by the by their boyfriends, by their husbands, by their like. I had my friend and her mom came to the Montreal show, and at the end of the show, her mom like came up to me and she was like, "That was like really powerful," but she was like.
Yeah,
like
it's eye-opening.
She was like, what's my husband up to? Like she thought she was like, they're all doing it. So it's
planning like an insecure scene.
And that's kind of what it was. And she was genuinely like, is my husband up to this? Like, like all of these stories are pointing that like there's just so many men engaging in kind of like affairs and like this kind of like behavior that's like not super nice, that she really did have a real fear, to the point that like I even texted her daughter the next day being like, is your mom good? Because like that's not what we were trying to do. I think also with TikTok and like there is kind of like this anti-men movement. I don't stand with that as much as like I always joke. It's like it's like my brand to be like, I fucking hate men. I don't like you know what I mean? Like
Cuties.
even my New Face set, like I regret so much having that line of like, I hate men so much, because like I really don't.
No.
But I do think that it's time that women stop glazing over the parts where they need to be accountable.
For sure.
You know, and and there are really men out there who do not, like subconscious or not, do not view women as like equal humans, and like really do participate in dehumanizing them.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that I'm all for holding accountable. I also don't think it's on women to hold them accountable. I actually think this is like a men's issue. I think older men need to be holding.
They have to educate themselves.
Older men need to learn, and they need to be teaching younger men, and younger men need to be teaching older men, because some of the older men have internalized all these like ideas about tradition that are based in like the dehumanization of women. And so it's like But it's not on us to do that, because also that's the thing is like women, we are taught to make things better. We are taught to like jump in at the last minute.
It's like, I'm done educating.
No.
Men. I'm done. Like,
this isn't my.
This is my. Well, I will do it to a certain extent, but like you gotta take accountability.
But we can't take. It's like it's also like we can't take all of the emotional labor on for them, because they need to take on the emotional labor.
For sure.
We also need to allow men to be more emotional and like
absolutely
access those emotions and access an emotion that's not only anger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, but and truly it's like it is a lot of like stuff that's working without us realizing it.
Yeah.
And so it's like I do understand the other side of like a guy who's like, well, I just don't understand why like I'm the devil now. I've never been the devil before. And it's like, well, there's all these like subconscious things that you are doing that you were socialized to do. And like that, just like we were socialized, women are socialized to be like more, to like jump into more caretaker roles, or to like we didn't control that. We were our brains were molded that way when we were like too young to even know. In the same way, we molded little boys' brains to not access emotions, to not like be able to emote other than anger.
For sure.
Like if you're acting a certain way, your dad would call you a pussy. Your uncle would call you a pussy. Your older brother and his friends would call you a pussy. So it's
your
like
teammates would call you a pussy.
Your teammates would call you a pussy. Like so it's like we have it is systemic. And so I understand the individual frustration of men going like, but I like, how do we get to this place where we're like
there
constantly
has been
villainized?
Progress, but like there's still room to grow, which is like if these men are feeling frustrated, it's like, okay, there is progress, and maybe you're not the person that is the issue, but we have to still speak up and say something, and you have to say something, like, and
we have to create, I think in general, like we have to create more spaces for people to make mistakes and be met with compassion.
For sure.
But with like it's like, to me, I'm like all about accountability and compassion.
I feel like you're good at that, Michelle. Like with like some the men in the comedy scene that like you're really close to, you're like good at like keeping them accountable.
Michelle holds everybody accountable.
Well,
which is really good. I just like turn my back, and which is
I've
bad.
Struggled too, and
it's not good.
I've struggled too, and I've had difficult conversations, and sometimes they don't go the way that they should go. And then I have had to take a step back in a lot of ways. And I think that's what's so fun about working with Uncuffed is that I do get to work with like, it's all female. Like, you know, everyone we're doing, like, it's me and Eva. Our opener is almost always female. Like, and then we usually have an opener, and then we usually have like a second comedy act. We try and give those opportunities to women, or just people who normally don't have access to stage as much stage time. So like people of color and you know, the LGBT community.
How do you both feel about being a female comedian at this day?
In this city?
In this city? Yes, in this city.
Jaded.
I'm really discouraged. I don't even know if it's as a comic or as a female comic, but I just feel like whenever I travel outside of this city, and I don't really talk about this much other than just with Michelle, but I guess I'll be vulnerable and just say what I mean now. But I don't give a fuck.
Speak your truth, man.
I don't give a fuck. I think that our city has so much grit and has so many things that are absolutely wonderful about it. And I also believe that it's incredibly saddening that people get stuck in these cliques, in these systems that are purely based on one other person having control over where they think you are in your career. And personally, that's just, I've never liked that.
I mean,
it happens in every city. It does, yeah. I can say that, like, going to Toronto, like, there are going to be gatekeepers in every city. I think the difference with Montreal is that I think, like, if you were to round up all of the comedians, like hobbyists included, so I'm talking like people who pop in and out of the scene every few months, like we're maybe we're like
small
175 people. And so it's like in Toronto, it's like, there's gatekeepers, but it's like, who cares if this one guy doesn't think you're good enough,
other opportunities.
You're good enough to do a show or get stage time. There's like 65 other shows happening that night. So that's like, I think, a feature of like a bigger city with a bigger scene. I think in Montreal, like what feels, I'll echo your sentiment of like what feels discouraging for sure is like people that we know are really bad for the scene and bad for comedy, actually. Like they're like, you guys, I mean, I'll talk shit all day. I don't care, but like, I won't do it for your benefit. But like, there are specific producers in this city that do not care about comics, that do not care about people getting better, that do not want to create spaces for them to be better. They just want to have control. Yeah. They want to have control over you. They want you to pick up their calls when they call. They want you to be on the inner circle. They want, and you have all these comics, especially like when you're starting out, that's all you know.
That's all you know, and you feel like you have to follow suit.
And you also feel like they hold the key to the opportunities which that you need access to in order to level up.
Years in, like we all are, we're just like, we're going to pave our own way.
I was never following his system or anybody's system or any of the men's systems.
I mean, we all are doing our own thing. Like, I'm not, like, I don't play into that. I won't. I refuse to. It's, like, not good for me. Yep. So, like, I just, like, I create my own projects, my own podcasts, and my own shows. So, like, and they're doing great, and that's fine. For sure. Like, I do feel bad for the younger comedians that are seeing that, and they may see like, but I'm feeling this like insecurity. I don't feel like I'm appreciated, and it's just like I feel bad because years later you'll get out of that. Hopefully, if they stick around.
It is and it also is a bit of a simulation. Like I think, like it's like when you go to any other city and you see stand up and you see the way that stand up is organized in other cities. It's like it's so different from the way that it's organized in Montreal, and it's like you don't, I've had so many chats with people who are kind of under this person's spell and I'm like, you could do this on your own. Like, I don't know why you think this person is the key to your career. Yeah. Because then I hear stories of that same person actually barring people from getting up on stage and actually canceling opportunities and actually forcing people like to not do a show. And to not get their reps in and to not practice and get better just out of this like blind concept of loyalty that's really not real.
It's fucking cultish. And it's like English Montreal. Relax. Relax. Okay. Like why? So I just, I've kept this between the privacy of very close friendships for so long, but it just boggles my mind that I don't even know how to say this. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you really think this person cares about you? Are you really going to put the future of your career in one person who doesn't care about you to make those decisions for you? And I remember 8 years ago when I started, someone was like, oh, you'll never get this opportunity for the next 10 years and you're never going to do this. And it was like... I was called, when the story of like being bullied for being called a bringer or I'm fat or people only come, I'm only booked because my friends come to the show and people need people to come to the show. So, book Eva. Not because she's funny, but because she brings people.
But like that bringer, quote unquote, that like community that you were able to the fact that you can even get like 10 people to come see a show,
I can't get
minimum
like
or two people. Like none of my friends come see anymore. There's no, so it's like that's not like that was weaponized against you as like an insult when actually it's the reason why you had 130 people at your show on Friday. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not because and so it's like it sucks that you have so much trauma over being called that. It sucks that even that term in our world is a bad thing because it's like if you're a bringer, that means people want to see you.
Well, not just that, but I mean, let's be honest, like I just find that especially in the city, oh my God, I've like never spoken about my feelings before. It's okay. You start something because you want to like help and you want to do something really cool and like help your community. And I've never liked being the one to choose like who I book on my show. I don't like being somebody who looks at someone and says like, you're not good enough. I spend every day not feeling good enough. Who am I to like look at someone and say like, you don't get this opportunity. You don't get that opportunity or I'm going to block you from this. And I do try to just book people for my audience who I know that they like. And that's really as much as it comes down to. But it's like, first you create something cool and everybody's so excited, right? And they're like, oh, I can't wait to get on. This is so cool. This is so awesome. And then you actually start growing and progressing and trying to give more opportunities. And sometimes that doesn't always look like financial growth. It looks like growth on social media or it looks like growth in attendance. But what ends up happening is at least what felt, this is just what feels, it might not be the reality, but what felt like happened to me was the more my show grew, the more all of a sudden I was just getting like blocked and not booked from certain rooms.
Isolated. And I think to
Really
like,
isolating.
Yeah, to your point about being a female comic
Yeah.
in this city. We can talk about being a female comic all day long. Like, there's so many bullshit things about it. But like in this city specifically, is that like it never really does feel like you're getting your flowers. It never really does. Even if Eva and I work 60 times harder than some of our male counterparts, even if we create spaces for them, even if we give them opportunities, even if we give them access. Like Eva gave people access last year. Like
Laugh Lounge.
off of her showcase. But even just your
100%.
show off of her showcase, I got new faces.
Yeah.
So even if you're, and it was the same, I felt the same way about Giggle Fest. It was like, even if you're breaking your back to give people opportunities, to make people feel cool, to give them access, to make comics feel good in this city.
It feels like
We never got the respect that some of our male, some of the males in the city that have gotten the same accolades that we have gotten, that have done the tapings, that have done the JFL, that all that stuff. Those guys are always kind of held on this pedestal, and you'll always hear people say, oh, that's my favorite comic, that's my favorite whatever, or let them do 20 minutes. Like I come to the city, I can't get more than 5 minutes when I come back to Montreal.
I can't get a Wednesday on the nest if I sucked dick for it. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
So it just does feel like if you are successful, and like perhaps maybe we're projecting, perhaps this is not what people think or feel.
I think there is some truth to it, but like you guys are making your own way, making your own path.
But it just sucks that it has to be that hard, because it's like I don't bother anybody. I don't come for anybody. I don't. I stay most of the time. I stay home with my dog. And I wait for my show day, and I go to my community. But like, it doesn't feel good to know that someone is purposely keeping you on a Thursday show because they think that you think you're too good for them. I'm like, that's insane. That's insane to me. You know, or I don't think that she respects my show. Why would you ever think that? Why would you ever think that? All I do anytime I have an opportunity or any interviews, I talk about the Montreal comedy scene. I drop every brand I could remember in my brain. I don't see many people saying, like, I have my close friends, but in all terms of overall in the comedy community, like, I don't get hollered at.
But that's why we don't do it anymore. Now we're like it got to a point where it was like, you know, people ask me like, why are you going to do Giggle Fest again? It's like, why?
I was wondering about like when Just for Laughs was like canceled, whether or not people were just like, oh, when's Giggle Fest?
People did message me that. And I was like,
knew it.
And I was like, to be honest, like,
for who?
I wouldn't blame you. For who? It was so much work for you.
And I had to deal with so much bullshit behind the scenes.
For sure. Of course.
I did get and I did get a thank you, but the thank you that was organized by the two of you. So it's
Abby
like,
got the flowers.
So it's like
it's flowers for you, and what was your?
Gabby. It was a card and a Starbucks card. Oops, cancel us. It was before we knew.
It was before it happened.
It was before we knew. And so I had a lot. It took me. I thought about this. For many months, and I had many phone calls with Eva, and it was just kind of like, I don't feel super supported or backed in my city. And I remember, I think for us, really the impetus is like a female comic came up to us and was like, you guys are killing it. And, you know, and she's also a very successful producer in the city. And she made a throwaway comment of, the men all hate you guys. Like, they hate that you are able to, like, to do this. And they really do. And we, like, joked. And she was like, no, but they really do hate you guys. Really? And it was just kind of like a moment.
I mean, I don't hear that hate ever. Like,
no,
I never hear it, but I...
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's, like, really sitting around every day and being like, we hate Eva and Michelle. It just feels like
I stay away from stuff
apart from, like, Pantelis, who's been really, really supportive, and, like, the guys at Third Floor who really did support me last year and stuff. Like, I don't feel like the love.
Do you feel the love in Toronto?
I
feel the love in Toronto. I feel the love in Ottawa, and I feel the love in Vancouver. I don't feel it. I feel love from my audience in Montreal, but I don't feel like, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm saying the wrong thing right now to be burned or whatever, but like I genuinely feel like I don't understand why certain
like it's
things
just,
are the way they are.
It's very
you can understand because it's nonsensical,
right?
Like all of these,
but
things.
It's very like it's like. I feel like I made it sound a lot more dramatic than it is. It's just a very small. It's just small little things that I noticed of like, even the way that they'll talk about people that are coming up in the city. They'll talk about people that were successful. It just doesn't really feel.
There's always like a but.
Yeah.
There's no
it just
like
doesn't
they did a
really
great job.
feel like they're giving, they're like validating all the work that the women in the scene do. And I feel that way even with you. Like, I think you are somebody, I've told you this from the beginning, that like opens doors for people and like really like does cool things and gives people opportunities.
I've backed off on that because I don't feel as appreciated. So I just do my own thing. I have people on my podcast that I like and like, you know, but I do a lot less of that.
Yeah.
Now.
And I've helped so many people
for
in
sure.
Montreal,
Giggle
just
Fest
like you have.
Amazing.
But even on the side, like I've gotten guys who message me for help writing jokes, message me for help writing press conferences.
Oh my God.
I've gotten so many people, and I've done it for free. I've done it because because I'm like, I believe in you, and I actually think you're like, I've helped people sell at shows, like you've helped people, and it's just like, but then we do all of that, but then I took a step back, and I was like, why am I doing all of this work building up men's careers?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are going to ask me because they don't know how to do it, and I don't know what it is in me that wants to help. Yeah. I'm going to take that work that I'm doing on the side and I'm going to reinvest it in something for my career, for our career, or for women. Yeah. Like, I'm going to help. So now I'm like, if women ask me to help, I'll help them. Yeah. If men ask me for help, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have the time. Yeah. It's just not the time for me to be helping you with your career. Like, it just isn't, especially because when push comes to shove and I needed support, or when I was in a place where I needed support, I had no one. So, and it's not a tit for tat thing. It's just kind of like, this is how I feel. I don't feel like my city backs me. Apart from a few people, and there's certainly some people that I haven't mentioned now that I know also support me. Yeah. Like, I'm doing Ben's show later. I love Ben. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, but it's just like, that really is just how I feel about it. And I see that with other female comics. It's true.
As well. Ben's an exception.
Honestly,
we love Ben.
Yeah.
I love my Kibbins Mondays and Tuesdays. But it's just, it just sucks, and it just hurts, especially because I think my pet peeve is when people do the numbers with no context on your show.
Yeah, they have zero context.
That for me is like a pet peeve. Like, I've had so many people come up to me and be like, "You're bawling.
Not fair.
You're bawling. You're making so much money off this show. You saw 150 people there. I did the math. How did you make this much?" And thank God I've had Michelle and Ariane help me do an audit of my costs, because they're stupid. But it's like, if you only knew how much I fucking cried.
I mean, I know a couple of years ago you sat down and you and I talked, and you were like, I'm dying.
Well, I'm dying, but also I didn't really know about how to manage things before. I was kind of just like, I just want everything to look pretty, and I wanted this and I wanted that, and it would
but to
bring
be fair, that benefited, you built your, like, it wasn't maybe monetary.
Yeah, but there was like other parts. Like, I will say, like, I'm very grateful, like, during my times of development, I had a lot of comedians be really patient with me on payment and figuring things out, and like, I'll always be honest and vulnerable about that, and the fact that, like, in that respect, I've been very lucky. Yeah. And people get it, and they've been really patient with me, but it's like, sometimes in this city, I'm like, why do I invest so much into a show here that, like, my audience appreciates, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I feel like people do my show and then talk shit about me immediately after, and I can't control that. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just tired and I'm discouraged, and I'm like, just want to. I don't know.
Well, what makes you guys feel good about comedy, though?
The audience.
The audience.
Oh, I mean, comedy is, I love it.
You love it.
Like, I love stand-up.
Us,
yeah,
right?
I love stand-up. And don't get me wrong, there's so many incredible shows that I love doing in Montreal, too. Like, I did Wiggle Room recently. Like, this isn't the rule. I've just noticed that there is a little bit still of that double standard.
For sure.
Where we still have to be undeniable.
For sure.
We have to be undeniable.
From the moment we get on stage.
Yeah. Like, if you fuck up a Tuesday.
Not even on stage, but also off stage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, how many of these guys have we seen, like, throw ego tantrums?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you throw an ego tantrum, which might happen because we're all narcissists, look at the industry we're in, you're not allowed to have that. Like, it's like, it feels like you have to act with grace and compassion and act a certain way. Yeah. And then you have to be unbeatable on stage. For anyone to go, yeah, you're on par with, the other guys that we're all like looking up to. And I feel that specifically in Montreal. But maybe it's a feature of the city. I actually have heard musicians talk about this too, that they don't feel a lot of love
talk about it a lot
in their city as well. And I think Toronto is kind of the city where if you show up and you have a little bit of clout, people are like, okay, we fuck with you, because they also want clout by being friends with you. They want clout by osmosis. And Montreal kind of has the opposite energy of like when you come back and you have accolades, people are like, so what, you think you're fucking big now? Like you can't fucking win. Big.
When I got New Wave, I did not want to post
it's genderless. I think that happens to everyone. So I don't know. Maybe Eva and I are like,
I'm just very sensitive, and I've never spoken about how I feel before.
Well, I thank you for sharing. The people that are listening will probably resonate with a lot of what you're saying, and it's good to put it out there. You're not naming names. Like, this is the feeling, and we have to treat everyone with grace.
Well, I just want people to do our art, can do their own thing.
That's kind of the thing too. Is like, I think that's the biggest thing in Montreal too. Is like I think people forget that like we're all doing an individual art form.
It's very individual.
It's very individual, and everyone's gonna have a different process. And at the end of the day, people just want to get on stage and try out their little jokes. That's what we want to do. It's what gives us life, and all of the politics and all of the trying out and am I good enough for this and whatever, all of that, like yes, it's part of being a stand-up. It is like clubs in New York are the same way, like there's a reason some comics are passed at certain places and they're not at others, and that exists in Toronto as well. But I'm saying, like, especially here, I just find it's so much focus on that sometimes I'm like, do we all remember that we're trying to create something, and that we're really trying to.
I think the good comedians know.
Take our art.
The good comedians
forward.
Focus on that. Yeah. The rest is just noise.
Noise.
Yeah. We're like, you guys just focus on your projects and make those successful. That's all that matters.
I like living in like a rose-colored world where like someone else comes up with a show and it's like celebrated and it's exciting, and it's like it doesn't take away from you. Someone else's show doing well doesn't take away from your show doing well. And
you don't have to also schedule a show on the same night with a similar name.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't have to. You're fine. Actually, you're doing a great job. Like, your shows are packed. You're fine. Like, just stay in your own lane. Like, what do you gain from that? And and there's malicious intent there. Yeah. And that's where I like have a real problem with it.
Understandably.
And God gave me a mouth, so I'm gonna use it.
I'm grateful I have Michelle, because I'm like I feel like sometimes I'm two extremes. I'm either incredibly soft, or like I'm way too like tuck. And Michelle's like, well, we could have had a conversation before you sent that message. Maybe I could have. Maybe the optics.
Well, it's because
we always have a friend like that, right? But like, just like, hey.
Well, it's because you're so emotional that like it then triggers that like that fight or flight bulldog reaction is of like it really is like a reflection of like your inner child being like, no one's protecting me, and then you going into like bulldog mode. And I think that's fine. Like, I think that's a fine reaction. But I think
I could work on it a little bit.
I mean, we can all work on things. I have a tone issue. This is like something that has gotten me in a lot of trouble. Just my tone.
Yes, I've never noticed. Really?
No, she does.
You think you should have done that?
No, she but because like especially like if she's tired and she's just woken up, which is a talent of mine to call her like straight out of bed, and I'll be like, hi.
Oh my God, are you and she'll just be like, Eva a morning person?
Yes,
I am a morning person.
No.
And then I'm a very cranky afternoon.
I was asleep at 9 p.m. Like she came to stay with me for a few days in Toronto, and like this bitch was out like a light at like 8:30 p.m. every night, and then like we're like really on opposite schedules, which I think is like interesting but like fun for us.
I don't understand how we're friends sometimes.
It's like I'm up till like 2 a.m. like and doing work, and then I'm up at 11.
Yeah.
And
I'm
she's
staring at her in the pillow in the
so
eyes.
It's like there's like 3 hours at night where I'm just like awake and she's asleep, and then 3 hours in the morning
where she's awake like a
the time difference is
like,
lovely.
Hey,
but it's like she'll just be like, I'm good, how are you? And I'm like, are you okay? What's wrong? You're like, no, I literally just woke up. I'm like, okay. Are you sure? She's like, no, I literally just opened my eyes.
Yeah. And I'm a grump in the morning too.
Yeah.
I'm not a good morning person.
I am not a morning
I'm
person.
angry at the world for the first 3 hours.
Yeah, no. I don't want anyone to talk to me in the morning. I just need my
Don't even look at me.
Yeah.
I will say, I'll as a clarification, my hurt and pain solely comes from the male comics in the city. I'm like one
Yes.
female comic, but other than
Yeah.
that, my pain comes from the male comics in this
God.
city, not the queers, not the women. Literally on file, on record, my pain comes from men.
Well, and I will say I was
Boom.
having this conversation with Rochelle Illy a few weeks ago, and we were just like, she was like, I feel like the female producers in this scene are really killing it. And I was like, actually, we really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'm not really a producer in the city anymore, but like when I look at like, you know, like I see you're always doing stuff. Sarah Warren and Peach Club Barbie just started a
Yeah,
movement
the-
that looks
them.
so
The funny
effing
woman?
cool.
Yeah.
I know Ellie Gill is doing a bunch of crazy
Raquel,
stuff.
Raquel Myers is doing
Raquel
the Polly
always-
mic now.
Yeah, Raquel like
Killing it.
So it's like it really is like
Elspeth's Tuesdays.
Elspeth's show.
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm sure we're forgetting.
I'm
people.
like, who am I forgetting right now?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
Lucy
Lucy.
show?
Yeah. Lucy's like, I mean, the Lucy show is
Yeah.
I
awesome.
mean, Lucy's been a powerhouse producer in
Oh,
the
for
city
sure.
for
and they take no
years.
Right.
And
They take no shit,
shit.
and I think they're a perfect example of someone who said, I don't like it here, so let me go do something else
Yeah.
for the community
Yeah.
that I
For
believe
sure.
in and I want to
for sure.
uplift. And I think I give them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
sometimes
much
it's
credit.
unfortunate because like you'll see the stories of like everybody hanging out and there's a part of you that really wants to be out
But
every
it's not
single night.
It's not real life though. The people, it's just like social media isn't real life. Sometimes like they'll post things and it's like 2 seconds. It's like, yeah, we were in the green room for 30 seconds together, but we're not hanging out. Like,
Yeah. Whereas I feel like in Toronto, I hang out with my comedian
Okay.
friends. Like the comedians in Toronto, like they
There's
go
more
for
of a
brunch.
hang built
There's
in,
more of a
yeah.
hang
Yeah.
built
But there
in
is
there.
clicks too. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real and
Yeah.
true. And there is cutthroat, and there are things that people
Are
are
there,
doing
yeah?
that I'm like, oh my God, you know, like it's yeah.
I mean, that's why I try to bounce around different cities. I have a
Yeah.
fear of being too close
Good.
to people. Is that weird? I didn't even know I had that fear till I said it. But it's kind of like that accountability and that clickiness.
Yeah.
And I enjoy floating around and just having people I care about in every
Yeah.
city. But sometimes you have that like, I wish I felt welcome. Not that no one's ever said you're not welcome here, but it's just more of like a vibe
Yeah.
when you arrive, or maybe it's me, maybe I suck, I don't know, but I just don't feel compelled to like go out and impress people who I just know are and have heard things that they've said
Yeah.
about me, and I don't say anything. But it's like, why would I go out of my way to spend money on an Uber, spend money on a metro, be
Yeah.
tired, coming
Yeah.
out with you
Yeah.
for what?
Yeah. Yeah, you weigh
so
the
that
pros
you
and cons,
maybe
and
like
the
me
cons
now?
or more.
Well, it's just like
Yeah.
I know why
Yeah.
I'm doing it, and I'm
Yeah.
going out and I'm hanging on the scene because I want you to like me, and that's
Yeah.
not an honest reason for me to go out.
Right.
It's not an honest reason for
And
me
I
to
think-
go out. It's really people pleasy, and it's like I just want you to like me so much, so I'm gonna show my face on the scene once and then disappear for a month, and it throws any effort I made away anyways because then I don't show up again for 3 months. Like it's.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have to say now I'm a lot happier in Montreal. I have my satay shows on Thursdays, and
it was so fun when
feels-
I did it. You guys were in Vancouver when I did it, but it was
yeah.
such
Kira
a fun
hosted,
show.
right? Or Ariane hosted.
I'm in love with Lee, who's
Matt.
I
Yeah. Okay. So it's so funny that everyone calls him Lee because like he is one of my like oldest friends. I've
Yeah,
known him since
like-
I was like I went to high school with him. He's part of
like-
he's my my
the
whole guy
moment
group.
I walked into that place,
He was the
like,
best man in a
"Hello."
wedding, and I
just
was
like,
the maid
you
of
are my
honor.
new best friend. You're such a hottie.
He's so hot.
Yeah, highly.
Yeah. And his girlfriend is incredible too. Shout out her.
God.
She is also someone I who's just like pure goodness and like also is like an activist and like just does really amazing things. Like
Yeah, it's such a cool
yeah,
show.
it is a
It's-
really great show. It's you can
Yeah.
tell the energy is like good people.
Yeah.
And what I will say about Montreal though, because I know we just talked so much shit.
That was
we
a
get
little bit
so
of
much
y'all,
shit.
sorry.
But that's like kind of what we say. Like we're like Uncuffed is like classy, elegant shit talking.
Yeah, it is.
You're like it's,
I mean, where's the lie?
yeah.
Where's the
Yeah.
lie? Like,
but I will say about Montreal is that if you are funny, you get booked.
Yeah.
In Toronto, the baseline is kind of funny, so it's like you have to kind of be friends with people before they book you. So I will say that is like an important distinction. So every city has its,
but it does feel nice to just like, okay, I can hang out with the people I really, really enjoy, and they can come have a really nice show too. Like they can have a good audience on it's worth them leaving the house on Thursdays, and it's just like I feel more comfortable in my city now, whereas before I had this really big imposter syndrome of like, don't do too well, or like don't
have imposter syndrome.
Don't show up, or people are gonna. I don't know.
Abby, can you reread our bios real quick so we can get another hit?
We
went like this. Now I'm like, I don't even know who
You know what was really funny? Like both of you have been on the podcast before. When I had you on the podcast, you were just about to leave for Toronto.
Yeah.
And now look how much you've grown and everything. And like when I had you on the podcast, like it was like, I mean, Kickback was like maybe a year in, or something like that, and like so much has changed, and so much growth has happened, and you guys are doing fucking fantastic.
Well,
and
right back at you. I mean,
I'm so
look
proud
at
of
it always. Like,
well, you guys have done so much. Like,
this place is incredible, and like you do so many cool projects, and like also like I think exactly a year ago, actually, was Giggle Fest. It was the weekend of Giggle Fest.
A year ago.
And a lot of people don't know this, but like when the snowstorm came and knocked out one of my venues, the person that put me in contact with the people that ended up saving like all those shows was you.
Yeah.
And Forget the Box.
Yeah.
And they were amazing. And the people at Poubelle Magnifique were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would not have been able to save all of those shows without
series
you.
of events
and you've
with that
done
venue.
so
oh my
much
god,
too.
I would have been dying. Just like context, like the day of the show, of the start of the festival, you lost the one venue.
The venue that I had 2 rooms booked out of.
Yeah,
so like
for the entire.
Yeah, and and there was double. Everything was like lined up. Yeah. No, it was
insane.
I had to pivot everything, and it was like.
I mean, I was happy to.
Third floor, thank God, came in, and like Josh was just like, "You do whatever you want. My venue is yours." That was incredible. Like, but then you also like the people you put me in contact with. So like in that sense, there was community, and I don't want to like shit on my community, but. All this to say is just like talking about where we've all come, like say right back at you. Like this is the beauty of like coming up with people is that you really do get to see them at every stage, and it's just so much more like beautiful when you get to the top together.
It's so important to like focus on like the growth and the good things and the good people.
Yeah,
because like there's always gonna be those noise and those people that.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, like I mean, you're gonna like both of you are gonna like be fucking rock stars, and like these silly little gatekeepers are just gonna be like, oh, look how cute you are, thinking you're important.
I think as well. What's unfortunate but also so powerful about the women and the queer producers in the city is the silver lining is, unfortunately, all of these shows and all of these amazing things were created because there was no space.
Yeah.
And because one person was like, no.
Yeah.
Or 2 people were like, no.
Yeah.
And those are the only 2 people we have in our city making decisions.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish this idea came naturally, but almost every fantastic show that's come out of this city or club that has come, new clubs that have popped up in the city is because one guy decided he was the king and could boss people around and put them at this like dumb system of like, what am I trying to win a Grammy here? I have to do a Tuesday, a Monday to get a Tuesday, and if I do really well on a Tuesday, I can get a Tuesday again.
Yeah.
And if I do really well on a Tuesday twice, I can go back to getting Mondays.
You can get a Wednesday, and then if you get a Wednesday, you can get one Thursday, and then you'll be ranked and improperly ranked because you're a woman, so you'll always fall just right under making it to Friday.
Yeah.
And then you'll never get booked on a Saturday or Sunday.
I hope. And even like what Sarah Warren and Peach Club are doing and bringing funny women from the UK here, like that's huge. Like that's amazing.
Busties too with Tyler. And I think Tyler is such an example of someone who's just like, I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to create my own opportunities for people and work with like, and do things differently too. You know what I mean? That's I love talking to Tyler about like the way his brain works.
Yes.
It's like I think it's about de-influence. Like I hope people see what other people are doing.
Yeah. And
just be like, you don't need to do this. Like, I I remember figuring out that there was a system because I had come back from the Dominican after 3 years into the comedy scene. So I hadn't really known exactly what was going on. Like the last time I left the comedy scene, it was like right after Comedy Works burnt down. There was still the Nest, and the Nest was still, it was still this place of like, you really wanted to work hard. Yeah. Really wanted to work hard to get that Friday and Saturday because it was the big and only club. And when I started in 2016, it was like, oh my God, like, I can't wait. And then I come back to Montreal and this person's run shit. Yeah. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, either I'm an egotistical narcissist, but either way, I'm an idiot because I don't want to subscribe to any of this. And for so long, I did try to subscribe to it. And it was ruining my mental health. Why won't he pick me? Why can't this? Why can't that? Why am I even in Montreal if I can't get a spot? And the pressure as a woman in this city to do well on one of those mics. Because if you don't, well, we don't have enough open mic nights for everybody to fail. Yeah.
Yeah, and also just to be clear, you could also do everything right and follow everything and do and be a good little girl because I was, and still end up with a scarlet letter on your and get banned and have producers message you and tell you that they can't book you anymore on paid gigs. They actually can't pay you for your art.
I heard a story. That a producer in our city told a producer outside of our city that they better stay on their side of the bridge.
Oh boy. Okay.
What bridge?
The Île Torte Bridge. Because this female producer has been killing it out in St. Lazare. TFS socials.
Wendy is amazing.
Wendy is incredible.
Wonderful person.
Also paying her comics crazy so much. Her and I had the best discussion the other day. Paying her comics, really believes in paying comics. Like,
I just performed a 250 person venue and got paid very well.
Yeah.
Treated very well.
I was like, Wendy, show me your budget sheet. Please
that makes me pissed.
Teach me your ways.
I did not know that. The fact that you just said that makes me pissed. This is the first time I've heard that. That's insane.
They said it to someone on the East End too.
Okay.
They better stay on their side. And I was like,
like, what is this West Side Story? Like, there's no turf wars here. Like, what are we doing? My big thing is, I feel like if everybody boycotted doing their shows, we would have, like, we could.
Yeah.
Because without comedians, you don't have a show.
Yeah, but there's still people who like.
I know.
That's not our. This is a rant. This is something that like
me. It's like no, it's a movement.
She's like, this is war. But all this to say is like I do believe that quality will dilute
for sure,
and I do think that we need certain people to go to those shows so they don't come to our shows.
Non-comedians listening or just got an earful of like what was inside or
you guys got
the inside of everything. We do have to wrap up though shortly.
What a cliffhanger. I'm like, she's like, so guys, tell me about an ex-boyfriend, and we're like, and then they said
yes. This was so much fun though, Abby.
Oh my God,
I hope it was what you imagined. I hope we didn't like.
No. It was so much fun.
She's like, so I don't know if I can
want to wrap up with one question. I usually wrap up with two other questions, but you guys have already been here on the podcast, so it's all good. But I wanted to ask, like, you two are big dreamers. You're huge dreamers. What is next? What's your goal? Your dream?
Yeah. Mommy and Mommy are going on tour in May again.
Yeah, we're going back on the road. We're going to Victoria, Vancouver, and we're doing 2 shows in Vancouver. We're going Edmonton, Calgary. Then we come back to Montreal. We do Ottawa, and then we're doing Toronto. And so that's like all in most of the month of May.
Busy month.
Yeah. I have a taping, just like for social clips, but really exciting taping happening on June 1st with Kira Carlton and my friend Dan James from Toronto. So
I know Dan very well.
Very funny comic. Nice. And so we're doing that. So look out for details of that because you'll definitely want to come. We're each doing 20 minutes. It's going to be incredible. So yeah, and I mean Uncuffed. Let's go worldwide, baby.
Yes. I'm like, the girlies need help.
The girlies need help.
The girlies need help. We're getting a lot of because we weren't going to do it again for like not do it again for a while, but like I never thought we'd go again in 2 months.
Yeah.
But one of the TikToks we posted went like viral again. And it's just all these people be like, I just got through a divorce. I need friends.
Yeah.
I need friends. Please, can someone help me?
Yeah.
And we're like, I called her and I was like, do you want to link? And then she's so good at like she just makes things happen, Michelle. She'll just be like, did we just plan a tour in 4 days?
Yes.
Well, we booked a tour in 4 days.
That's insane, but good for you.
And
that's incredible.
I can't wait. I love Vancouver. God. But for Kickback next month, so our April show is actually a fundraiser, and we're collaborating with Sun Youth?
Sun Youth, yeah.
Okay, for a second I almost said Sunny D, and I was like, where's my dyslexia going for that? I'm gonna just redo that for the clipping.
Yeah, Sun Youth. Yeah.
I was like, we're collaborating with the Sun children.
You just outed yourself. Like you said it right. You're like, I almost said.
Yes, you see the imposter syndrome. That's what it looks like. No, April 19th, we're collaborating with Sun Youth, and 50% of our profits are going there for their food drive. So I'm really excited about that. I've never collabed with a foundation before, but it's kind of...
It's fun. It's very rewarding to like do fundraisers.
Yeah, you do so much. Like you're such a
You're
philanthropist.
like queen of fundraising.
Well, you do so much for the like accessibility community. Well,
yes.
No, right?
Yeah, well, because I do have a disability.
Right?
So like, it's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Heart for sure.
You should do more of those.
Yeah. Pardon?
You should do more of those.
I will. I have some stuff in the works. Where can people find you? Where are your handles?
My address is 36.
My social is my actual social is Michelle Forster on Instagram, and then her phone is dead on TikTok, and she is trying to be more on TikTok. So
you are doing a good job.
Come give me some views.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok under Eva Alexo Comedy, or in Yellow Pages as Jim's daughter. But that's it. That was so dumb.
That was so funny. What are you talking about?
That was
like,
so
that's hilarious.
Thank you both for being here. This is so
Love
lovely.
you.
So fun.
We're so proud of you too.
Oh my gosh,
really.
thank you. I'm proud of both of you. Thank you to the listeners for listening. Thank you to ManyVids for this beautiful studio. You can find me houseofstonepodcast.com for all the links. Like, subscribe. I am doing an hour-long special on June 5th. It's just a practice. It's just a practice on June 5th, but it's at Notre Dame de Quill. And then hopefully stay tuned for other things with that.
I'm not doing an hour yet, guys.
And yeah, my personal handle, AbbiePStone_MTL. Follow me there. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.